Imagine a man appearing in Times Square, confused and lost, dressed as if he stepped straight out of the 19th century. Was he a time traveler, or something even stranger? Join us as we unravel the mystery of Rudolph Fentz, a man truly out of time. The story of Rudolph Fentz is one of the most intriguing tales of time travel. It begins in the heart of New York City back in the year 1950. Picture this, it's a bustling summer evening. Times Square is alive with its usual buzz, neon lights are flashing, people are milling around, and suddenly a man appears out of nowhere. This man, dressed in 19th century attire, seems bewildered and completely disoriented. Witnesses describe him as wearing high-buttoned shoes, an old-fashioned hat, and sporting thick sideburns. He looks around at the modern cars and bustling crowd, seemingly overwhelmed by the new world around him. The strange appearance of Rudolph Fentz is said to have culminated in tragedy. According to the story, he stepped into the street unaware of the automobiles rushing by and was hit by a car, leading to his untimely death. But this wasn't the end of the mystery. It was just the beginning. When authorities investigated his belongings, they discovered some bizarre items. Fentz carried a copper token for a beer worth 5 cents, bearing the name of a saloon that no one had heard of. He also had a bill for the care of a horse and the washing of a carriage from a stable that had ceased operations decades before. There were banknotes, but none of them were valid currency, and his ID bore a name, Rudolph Fentz. The address listed led investigators to a dead end, as the residents had never heard of him. The most puzzling part of the story emerged when police tried to track down Rudolph Fentz's identity. They dug into old records, and what they found left them stunned. A man named Rudolph Fentz had been reported missing in 1876, nearly 75 years before his sudden appearance in Times Square. The report described him perfectly, down to the clothes he had been wearing. It was as if he had vanished in 1876 and reappeared, unchanged in 1950. The story of Rudolph Fentz spread quickly, capturing the imagination of many. Was he truly a time traveler? Did he somehow traverse the decades without aging a day? Or could there be another, less paranormal explanation behind his mysterious arrival in the 20th century? Some believe that the man simply suffered from an extreme form of amnesia or had somehow been displaced from a hidden society that lived in anachronistic conditions. But the theories only seem to raise more questions than answers. Skeptics argue that the tale of Rudolph Fentz might just be an urban legend, a story passed down through the years to entertain and mystify. Indeed, research into the origins of the Rudolph Fentz story suggests that it may have come from a piece of science fiction, a short story by author Jack Finney, who wrote about a man who experienced a similar fate. Could it be that this tale, written as fiction, somehow became entangled with reality in the retellings over the decades? Many conspiracy theorists still point out, however, that the details are so precise, the witness accounts so vivid, that it's difficult to dismiss the story entirely as fiction. But let's not forget, the possibility of time travel has fascinated humanity for centuries. The idea that someone might inadvertently slip through the fabric of time and end up in a different era is a concept that has been explored in literature, movies, and even scientific theories. Physicists have contemplated whether time travel could ever be possible, and the strange case of Rudolph Fentz fuels that speculation. Is it possible that under certain unknown conditions, a rip in the space-time continuum, a wormhole, or some other unexplained phenomenon, someone could be transported from one time to another? The story of Rudolph Fentz fits perfectly into our collective fascination with the mysteries of time. Another compelling detail in the story is the witnesses. Numerous people claimed to have seen Rudolph Fentz appear out of nowhere. If this was a hoax or an urban legend, why were there consistent descriptions from different individuals, all pointing to the same inexplicable occurrence? Could this be a case of mass hysteria, or did something extraordinary happen that night in Times Square? The legacy of Rudolph Fentz lives on, not just because of its bizarre details, but because it challenges our understanding of reality. If true, the case implies that time is not a fixed linear path, but something far more fluid and flexible, something that can be bent, manipulated, or even accidentally traversed. It's easy to understand why this story has captured imaginations for decades. It's not just the mystery of where he came from, it's also the question of where he was going and why. Ultimately, whether Rudolph Fentz was a genuine time traveler or merely a figment of a creative imagination, the story continues to captivate and inspire. It serves as a reminder of how much we still don't understand about time, space, and the potential for forces beyond our current comprehension. The idea that someone could slip through the cracks of time, emerging in a world that is unrecognizable to them, is both haunting and exhilarating. It taps into our innate curiosity, the desire to explore the unknown, to understand the inexplicable, and to ask questions that have no easy answers. The story of Rudolph Fentz may forever remain unsolved. It may be destined to linger as a legend, a cautionary tale, or perhaps even a glimpse into what might be possible in the distant future. But one thing is certain, it leaves us with a question that is impossible to ignore. Could time travel be more than just a figment of science fiction? Could there be others like Rudolph Fentz, lost in time, looking for a way home? Time travel, is it fact or fiction? If Rudolph Fentz's story intrigued you, make sure to watch our next video on New World Order hidden powers and global secrets. Could hidden forces be shaping the world as we know it? Click now to uncover the truth behind the conspiracy.